on Facebook, our Facebook. Hold on. I still see Filipino Count Committee. Hide. Okay. Okay.
One more minute.
Okay, I just wanted to start welcoming people because we are live on Facebook. And if you are joining us today, you're in for a treat because we have a lot of interesting speakers today. As we know, it's been a tough time for small businesses across Hawaii, across the world, actually. But we are going to hone in and talk to local business owners here and talk about the relief efforts for them in case you're in the same boat. So again, welcome, everybody. It's 12:30. We can start. I'm Annalisa Burgos. I am an anchor and reporter for KITV4 Island News. Thank you so much for joining us today. And this is a talk story. It's called Tsismisan because we are focused particularly on the Filipino community. It's one of the hardest to count communities, and this is tied to the census, hence Tsismisan, the title. It actually means gossip in Tagalog, which is the Filipino language. And what we're doing is we wanted to share the stories of the community, to talk about what solutions are out there, especially since a lot of us are going through tough times during COVID. We had issues, previous panels with the Catholic Church, leaders from that community, as well as legal leaders. So today we have small business as our focus. And I want to first acknowledge our partners, the Filipino Complete Count Committee, FYLPRO, and the Ethnic Education Hawaii. So thank you so much, everyone, for sponsoring this important event and panel. And we are coming to you on Facebook Live, as you know, various platforms. And you can be sure to like the Filipino Complete Count Committee Facebook page because they have some prizes. And of course, you want to be in touch with what's happening on the census front. And we're actually also simulcast right now to radio stations across the islands. Here on Oahu, we're broadcasting live from KNDI 1270. On Maui, we have Mix 105.5 FM. And on Kauai, 107.9 FM, KTOH HD3. Shout out to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us for this discussion. And now I get to introduce our panelists. So let's begin with Fermo Dayao. He is currently working at the City and County of Honolulu as International Affairs Specialist in the Mayor's Office of Economic Development. He's also chairman of the board of the Cebuano Association of Hawaii and a past president and current senior advisor of the Congress of Visayan Organizations of Hawaii. Hi, Fermo. Aloha.
Hi, Annalisa. Aloha.
All right, and our next speaker is Mylene Reyes, who is an entrepreneur by trade, a mother of 3 daughters and wife. Of course, she is also a dedicated Rotarian. She embodies the service above self mantra to its core, and she's also a weekend warrior. Mylene enjoys trekking through the lush hiking trails of Oahu with her family. Hi, Mylene.
Hi, Annalisa. Aloha, everyone. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there.
That's right. I totally forgot. It is Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to everyone. And our next panelist is Marinelle Valenzuela, president and owner of Ink Spot Printing Corporation. It's a commercial print shop and graphics design company in Lihue, serving Kauai for over 30 years. And she's the co-founder and owner of the signature red carpet event, Kauai Fashion Weekend. She sits in a number of nonprofit boards and is a past president of the Kauai Filipino Chamber of Commerce. Aloha, Marinelle.
Aloha, everyone. Nice to see you all here during this Tsismisan.
Very
exciting.
Very cool. And then we have Kit Zulueta Furukawa. She's the Filipino owner and designer of Mystery Escape Room in Wailuku, Maui. She is a former president of the Maui Filipino Chamber of Commerce, 2018 SBA Small Business Advocate for Minorities in the County of Maui. And she's held leadership positions working for the county and UH Maui College and currently providing some creative consulting for businesses. Good to see you, Kit.
Nice. Thank you for having us, and I'm looking forward to this Tsismisan session with everyone.
Wonderful. And then last but not least, oh, well, we have two more. Annie, I always know, is always in every session. That's why. But Rocky Angwai is actually an assistant vice president at First Hawaiian Bank, branch manager over at Pearl City branch, active in the Filipino community organizations, as well as the Filipino Chamber of Commerce of Hawaii, the Heart of the Bayanihan, and the Philippine Celebrations Coordinating Committee of Hawaii. And he has over 40 years of banking experience, so if you need any advice about following your dreams and financing them, he's the one to know. Hi, Rocky.
Hello, everyone. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there.
Happy Father's Day. And last but not least, Annie Sokol, of course, is our partnership specialist with the U.S. Census Bureau. She speaks Tagalog, Visayan, originally from Mindanao in the Philippines. And her role for all of us is really to educate, encourage us all to participate in the census because it benefits all of us. So not just the Filipino community, but all of our communities here in Hawaii. So again, welcome everyone. It's good to see you and excited to start this discussion.
Looking forward to it.
All right, so we have this, basically we have ground rules, everyone who's watching. Feel free to engage and put your questions in the comment section of the Facebook post. But as we go, we have some set kind of questions for our panelists. So let's start first by telling us about your businesses, focusing on our small business owners. How has COVID really impacted you? How have you really struggled to make it work? Let's start first with Mylene in Oahu.
Sure. So our business, RNM Reyes Enterprise, is a home medical equipment provider. So just kind of a little bit of overview of how we were last year. So we were 30%, our revenues 30% higher compared to last year. And that was February of last year. And from March to May, our revenue dipped down to 35% lower compared to last year's numbers. And with all of the reduction in revenue, we were still fully operational. So 100% of our employees were employed during the 3 months that during the lockdown. So just imagine that with higher PPP expenses and reduction in revenue and still operational with, employing 100% of our employees, it's very challenging to operate the business right now in this climate. And with all of that, with all of those challenges, the biggest thing for us is finding profitability with the decreased revenue that we're experiencing right now. So, yeah, so that's pretty much the overview of our business.
Yeah, interesting because you are able to still continue. I know a lot of other businesses have actually closed up shop completely for now. So let's head over to Maui with Kit. How is it going for your business? Tell us about it.
Well, Mystery Maui is an escape room, and for those who are not familiar, an escape room, it's like a fun house where you book a room with your friends or with your family, with your coworkers, and you play a game. You find clues, solve puzzles, in order to solve the mystery in the room. So when the lockdown happened, obviously it's part of the, later on categories that's not essential. So we're in the entertainment category, right? So we only recently reopened in June. But I share the same, uncertain, gloomy outlook that Mylene has shared. And it's the same here on Maui with several restaurants and nonprofits and businesses. My husband and I go walking every day, and it's sad that, we see some businesses just in our street close down. So it's scary. It's my mom describes it the best, I feel. She says head above water. So, and even if there's a raft, you're still in the water. So it's a lot of questions, a lot of uncertainty. But we reopened. It's hopefully looking great. We're starting to get bookings again, but still a lot of questions. So I share the same situation with my counterparts in the mainland, counterparts in the different islands. There's several escape rooms as well, as well as the theaters, those in the arts, in that category. So that's the general outlook here on Maui.
Okay, very good. And now let's head over to Kauai with Marinelle. How is it looking over there?
Also, the same situation. We've been closed for 2 months, but just going back, I just want to share that we are, in business for 30 years, like what you said earlier. It's Inkspot Printing is a family-owned and operated business, and we've been providing the top quality printing and print design for all these years. Our company caters to all businesses, pretty much, from individual to small and large businesses on Kauai, and we also offer the fingerprinting appointments. So during lockdown, people were calling us, but we were sort of on the non-essential business. So we closed the shop, but I had a lot of calls if we were opening for fingerprinting appointments, but we were scared to open for that purpose, because you have to hold the fingers and do all this, procedures. But one thing about the fingerprinting, I just want to share that all of our employees must also go through this background check. We all have to be clear, and we have to come clear, and that means none of us must have any criminal records, or we have to prove that we have not killed anyone yet. So customers should be safe, and they can trust us when they come to this business. But just going back prior to COVID, during the booming years of printing in this business, I actually started with 15 employees. That includes the full-timers, the part-timers, and plus I had on-calls and seasonal workers during those previous years. I hired every friend or relative who came to visit. If they were available, I would lure them with free dinners that my husband would prepare, or free lodging at my house if they were visiting from other country. So, we were like always busy taking everything that comes through the door, because I always had the manpower to turn around a rush job. When COVID hit, and of course when during the past years when the economy also tanked, all of these things have changed. So, same scenario. There's a lot of changes that took place when COVID started to visit us.
And I think just in general, for all of our business owners, it's interesting to note that they just happen to be women. Was that an interesting... I just wanted to point that out. I know we talk about maybe this
power.
struggle as being a female CEO or owner in this time of the pandemic. Is that anything that you guys have experienced personally? Or is it just, again, part of what, like everyone else has been experiencing?
I guess it's just like everyone else.
Well, I wanted to...
Generally.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And it makes a big difference that there's a women power. And this is also, my business is also women owned. So, yeah.
Well,
Minus me and my husband, so we're partner in this, and we work together.
Well, I wanted to bring in Rocky because he's our banker. So I'm sure Rocky and I myself have talked to many business owners who are echoing all of the sentiments that they have just shared, making that difficult choice of whether it's worth it to even reopen because of, some costs, the operating costs and the struggles. What are you hearing on your end?
A lot of our customers, when the pandemic started, our main focus was trying to reach out to the customers to see how we can help them with their businesses. And throughout the process, even until now, as we talk with them, many are frustrated as well as hopeful. They're hopeful that now that the Hawaii economy is starting up again and businesses are opening, that they will bring back some business and hopefully gain some revenue. But they're also frustrated because of the guidelines, the CDC guidelines, the state guidelines, as far as how they can operate, what they can do, what they must start doing to keep everyone safe And that is being the hardest part for many businesses as even though they're opening up their restaurants, they're at 50% capacity, they're worried that will they have enough business to survive. They also have taken on additional costs for keeping their establishment clean and also reducing the threat of contamination or anyone getting sick. So it's a lot of work, but they're really, really trying to stick it out and see. They know it's going to be a long haul to get their business back to the way they were. But everyone is trying to keep an open mind about the process.
Yeah, it's really just, I feel like the uncertainty of it all and finding purpose in what you're doing as, we struggle with the public safety aspect of it too. Let's bring in FYLPRO now, our city expert, to talk about some of the programs that are available for our small business owners. And I know we've been reporting extensively, at least for the city and county of Honolulu, with the Small Business Recovery and Relief Program. Just give us an overview of what you're doing in your office and how you're addressing these issues.
Well, thank you, Annalisa. First of all, I greet all of you, aloha, and special greetings to all the fathers in this panel and to all those in the audience. Happy Father's Day today. Well, on behalf of the city and county of Honolulu, and on behalf of Mayor Kirk Caldwell, I'd like to announce and inform everyone that the city has a program to financially assist small businesses in Oahu. And the program is called Small Business Relief and Recovery Fund. It was launched on March 18th, 2020, with an initial $25 million in funding. But last week, Mayor Kirk Caldwell announced an additional $25 million to the fund. The program invites the small businesses who have closed their operations and are suffering financially to apply for a grant. Now, this is not a loan program. This is a grant program. And small businesses with 50 or less employees with gross annual revenues of 2 million or less can apply for a one-time grant of up to $10,000. Now, let me tell you very briefly, this is a different program from the federal government's SBA program, the PPP and the EIDL programs. First of all, the city and county of Honolulu has this program as a grant, which means the beneficiaries will no longer pay back whatever they receive in grant. Second, this is a reimbursement program, which means that if you want to apply, you have to furnish receipts of expenses disbursed during this time of the pandemic. Receipts on rental for your commercial business address, also for utilities, including cable and internet, and also for improvements in making your business prepared to handle customers and prevent COVID-19. So if you wish to apply for it, the qualifications are very simple. You can go to www.oneoahu.org. All the qualifications, requirements are there. And as of Friday, $23 million had already been disbursed to about 2,600 applicants that have qualified and were approved. So we still have another $25 million available. So if you wish, go to oneoahu.org. Everything has to be through the internet application. And the application goes to 4 credit unions that we are working with, namely Aloha Pacific Federal Credit Union, Hawaii State Federal Credit Union, Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union, and the Honolulu Federal Credit Union. So if
And it's
you're a
important
small
to note that you don't have to be a member, right, FYLPRO?
you don't have to be a member of this any of these credit unions. You can apply a grant up to $10,000.
Very
Thank
good.
you, Annalisa.
Thanks, FYLPRO, for that. I mean, that is a much needed, fills the gap that the PPP has left, right? Because a lot of complaints that the really micro businesses weren't able to take advantage of the PPP as much as the larger ones. But
Yes. And one thing, the City and County of Honolulu has tasked me and my office, the Mayor's Office of Economic Development, to manage this program. So we have been busy receiving applications and questions. Of course, the credit union does all the processing, but we guide all the businesses, and we are working with ethnic chambers of commerce to help applicants. The Filipino Chamber of Commerce, the Japanese Chamber of Commerce, Chinese Chamber, Korean Chamber, and the Vietnamese American Chamber of Commerce. So if you are one of those that need, because of challenges of language and technology, because everything has to be filed through the internet, go to any of these resources and they will be happy to help you.
good
But
news,
at
good
the
news.
end,
Well,
we
I did
are
want to
offer-
ask Mylene, did you take advantage of this, Mylene?
Well, actually, the initial phase of this relief and recovery fund, we weren't qualified. We weren't eligible because it was for businesses with 1 million or less revenue. But this time, now that they've increased it to 2 million in gross annual revenue, we're definitely going to apply.
Mylene, you should go and
yeah,
focus
and-
on as you
And
can.
Thermo, this is the eligible expenses. This grant can be used for rent, utilities, payroll, and everything else, right?
Yes, ma'am. As
Mhm.
long as if you had received federal program, federal grants or loans, the expenses you are applying for the city and county were not covered by the federal program.
That's
You
good.
should go ahead and apply as soon as you can.
I'm filling out my application now, Thermo.
No, I'm glad you increased that cap. That's a good point because Mylene falls under that 1 million to 2 million, and there's a lot of people that would fall under that. But let's turn to Maui and ask Kit about what kind of programs they have over there. Do you have similar types of relief
Sure.
programs?
Well, first I wanna mention that I do want to apply with the Honolulu County grant too. It sounds like a great program, but yeah, it's only for Honolulu, right? But anyway, Maui has a similar program. I think not as great as that because that's forgivable, but it's a loan. So what the county did over here, Office of Economic Development, they earmarked $1 million and they partnered with Maui Chamber. So they call it the Micro Business Loan Program. 10 employees or less, so it's a really small business geared program. Up to 10,000, I believe, 25,000 is what you can apply for. 750,000 is the limit, and it's 0 interest. So you still have to pay it back with 1 year deferral. But it's something business might take advantage of because it's 0%. But it's still a loan, so that's the difference. But still, at least there's some effort, and there's this program, and there's this help from the local county self. In
that's
addition
important.
to other initiatives that they have, they're promoting Kama'aina First programs right now, so they're promoting businesses and really pushing for everyone to support local businesses, which is great. But that's what we have on Maui.
Yeah, important because I know there's some federal CARES money and they're starting to allocate that to local programs. So let's turn to Kauai. So what's happening over there, Marinelle? Do you guys have relief programs too?
Well, I must say, like what I said earlier, we are very fortunate on this island in many ways. I don't have the exact information about something similar to what Oahu and Maui is putting together, although there are there is something cooking at the moment. I don't have all the details, and I don't want to share information that I don't have full details of right now. But definitely, our county are organizing or have organized an economic recovery effort, which partners with the Kauai Chamber of Commerce, the Kauai Visitors Bureau, KEDB, which is the Kauai Economic Development Board, and the Office of Economic Development. They're actually, they had a kickoff and met up with the mayor, and basically the goal of this economic, we call it CURST, Kauai Economic Recovery Strategy Team. And the goals of the team are to identify short and long-term efforts that will put the residents back to work and revitalize our economy as soon as it's safe to do so. So there's quite a few group from the community that will take care of different sectors. But overall, the island is practicing a lot of aloha, helping one another during this crisis. You will never go hungry when you're in Kauai because we have the support from the local government offering food supplies and our community who are in need. It's interesting. We also have our own version of PPP, which it's called Police Pastors and Platters, where they offer free breakfast to anyone who may need something to eat, and it's like from 500 to 600 platters every Saturday, and 100 of those plates goes to the houseless community. So even smaller groups and individuals, many nonprofit organizations, Santa Club, and there's different groups that's putting all their efforts, putting something together, offering free meals or giving away anything, produce, volunteering time, it doesn't matter what it is or how much they're giving out, because even restaurants are offering anything that they could offer, from 100 plates to 400 plates whenever they can. And so each of these each one of them are sharing what they can afford, and I think that is also heartwarming. Aside from all the loans and the benefits that we can give to smaller businesses, it's always good to start from something small, then a domino effect happens. This is such a blessing that we see something like this happening during these difficult times, and that's one thing that also matters.
Yeah, and we love to share those stories too, where people are just sharing this aloha in a tough time. So Rocky, I'm going to turn to you now because you're the banker. I'm going to always just say that.
Okay.
PPP was big. They made this adjustment because there was some complaint that it didn't account for the rents that are, that Hawaii is known for. Our business owners just very, burdened. 25% was just not enough of a loan for them to cover their operating expenses. What are you seeing on your end with all those programs that you've been processing and the loans?
The main program that we've been processing is the PPP program through the bank. And in the beginning, it was quite frustrating because we were waiting, everyone, all the financial institutions, been waiting for guidance from the SBA while we were all building the process at the same time. They have made some changes, constantly making revisions to the eligibility of the program. I believe now it's 60 to 40 in what they can use the funds for. Initially, it was 75% of the funds were to be used for payroll and 25% for all the rent stuff. But they have changed the percentage of that and also extended it to 24 weeks versus 8 weeks. So a lot of the customers that have received funding are glad that there have been some changes, and we're advising them to check the SBA website or our own portal for updates as we continuously get changes to the program. It's been frustrating in the beginning.
Yeah, I remember. The second round, did we have a lot more money allocated for Hawaii?
Yes. For First Hawaii, we processed over 6,000 applications. I believe 2,500 were able to get in with the first round, and then the money ran out. We were hoping that we were going to get a second round, which we did. So we continue to work with the other 3,500 applicants. And pretty much everyone has gone through. Just a few left that are missing some information that we're working through with them so they can get the funding.
Is there
But
a talk of another round, or are we pretty much done with PPP at this point?
I believe this is it because there is still some funds. So we're just wrapping up the few that are still left that have maybe incomplete applications, or a lot of it is based on SBA's guidelines as far as what the business owner has to provide in order to be eligible to get funding. So our job is to make sure that all the areas of the application is completed so that they are eligible to get the funding. And they're very strict in funding from when the applicant has been approved. We had 10 days to fund their accounts. So we have to make sure that everything was in place so that they will receive the funding.
Okay.
But others are looking at, a lot of people are looking at other alternatives to, like the other SBA programs that are out there that we are not servicing. We're just focusing on the PPP. And then now the credit unions have the grants. So I really would encourage all the businesses to take advantage of whatever they can possibly get, because this is going to be a long haul for all the businesses to get back to where they were.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, is there any kind of specific program for rent relief at this point? Do you know?
No, not unless you use whatever you can out of the PPP. You might want to try the other SBA programs that were mentioned earlier to see if they have, but nothing that we have been told of, anything specific for rent.
And just quick follow-up for FYLPRO. Was there anything for rent relief specifically? Oh, I lost. You're muted, FYLPRO. I don't know, but can I unmute you? Let me see if I have the power to do that. I don't have the power to unmute you. Okay, maybe we'll have to get back to you. I don't know how to unmute you. You have to do it on your screen, possibly.
Okay.
There you are. Yay, you're back.
Yes,
You didn't want to answer my question. That's probably why you put yourself on mute there.
Well, the city and county of Honolulu, Annalisa, has two programs. One program is for small businesses, and as I mentioned, it has $50 million in there, of which 25 million has been disbursed. But there is another program called the Financial Assistance Program for individuals and families. Now, they can apply for rent, house rent, or apartment rent, utilities, and even childcare expenses. So, and that's about $25 million in there. And that's managed by another office, not our office. It's managed by the Department of Community Services. But again, you can apply, those who are listening, you can apply through the internet to the program.
Okay. Well, thank you for that information. Now you guys can have a little bit of a break because we're going to talk about the census now. So you guys can hang tight. I'm going to bring back Annie Sokol, who's going to talk about the very reason that we are coming together is the census and how important it is to be counted. And as we're setting that up, I just wanted to remind everyone that if you got something in the mail, it's time to submit it. I submitted mine, so I'm I'm good to go. That's from my household. So I see Annie's in our screen right now. So Annie, give us a quick update. How are we doing in terms of our submissions and our responses?
Yes, hi Annalisa. I am pleased to share with you all that as of last Friday, June 18, the state of Hawaii has a 57.4% self-response rate. We saw a great improvement of response rate in Hawaii County, wherein most households started receiving their census packets in the past 2 weeks. They're now at 41.9%. So Oahu leads at 63.8% self-response, followed by Kauai at 47.8%. So yay! Shout out to Kauai. And yay! And it's followed by Maui at 47.6% and Kalavao at 6%. So sa mga nakikinig at nanonood po sa atin ngayon, please check with your family if you already responded to the 2020 census.
Okay, and we do want to focus on some of these remote areas. How are you doing in terms of delivering the census materials there? There's still some people that haven't gotten their census materials?
So since June started, our census operations here in Hawaii went back into full operation again because it was postponed last March due to COVID-19. So they are now back in the field and delivered census invitation packets to our rural areas in our state. So thank you for patiently waiting for your census packets. Now it's up to you to respond. And nationwide, census materials are being dropped off at the front doors of 6.8 million people and 96% or 6.8 million households, including Puerto Rico. And 96% of that is already done and completed. So this is a very big operation, and I would like to thank our census staff in the field for doing this incredible work.
And it's also important to know, because our topic today is small business. So how
Right.
can businesses actually help in your efforts?
So many ways, and I just want to thank first our business owners who are with us today for taking this opportunity to talk story with us. And having these conversations that help shape our community. And there's so many ways that you can help through reminding your employees about the census, and also sharing the census to your customers. You can share it through your social media and your website if you have one. You can also place a poster. Let me know if you want to put a census poster in your business. And, just again, reminding your community about the census. And there's any way that helps us would be great.
Do the census numbers, we talk about how it helps give funding for programs and social services to communities depending on the number that comes out, right? Is that helpful
Yes.
for small businesses as well? How do small businesses actually benefit from an accurate count?
Definitely, small businesses can use these census numbers, right? So, for example, I have a friend who was keen on starting a nursing home, and part of that decision-making process is, of course, researching the feasibility of the business. And she used census data in developing her business plans for a nursing home for seniors. So that's one example. And I know it's a little bit obvious, but just another example is if you want to have a restaurant, specifically a Filipino restaurant, for example, and you want to know if there is a market for Filipino food in your community. Knowing that 25% of the population in Hawaii are Filipino or of Filipino heritage, it gives you an idea that yes, a Filipino restaurant might just be profitable, right? So, but the bottom line is you still have to get to know your community in order to know and have all the variables to make the best decision for your business. And the census plays a huge role in this process. You don't want to go in blindly into creating a business without knowing your community or knowing your market. And a complete and accurate count of our community brings us more funds for small business loans, community loans into our community. And even for CARES Act, for example, the census data were used for that.
Oh, well, those are good enough arguments to turn in our census numbers because of the market research itself is so valuable. You don't want to invest in something that may not work out because of
Definitely.
lack of research. So lastly, shout out for why we should care.
So I don't really care if I overstate this, and I say this
You
over
say it
and
all the
over
time.
again. I know, but the census is very important because it is our representation and our voice in government. It impacts our community in terms of getting our fair share of federal funds for critical resources in our communities. And one thing that most of us probably forget is that yes, the census is all about statistics and numbers. But we have to remember that there are stories behind these numbers. The number tells us the story of our community. And if we want a complete story of our community, that no one is left out, no voice is left out, we have to respond to this once-a-decade census.
Okay, good point. Thank you so much, Annie, for
Thank
reminding us
you.
about how important this venture is, the population survey. Only every 10 years, guys. So this is like do it. Get it done. All right, so let's bring back our panelists, and we're going to go into our next segment. So we did talk about their businesses, what they do, and also we talked about the programs and the services that are available for some of our small business owners out here. I do want to appreciate or send some appreciation out because we do have our other islands, neighbor islands here, Maui and Kauai. I do miss the Big Island. Next time we'll include Hawaii Island in our chat today. But so we have them back, our three business owners. Okay, so guys, we talked about how you're doing, but let's talk about how to survive going forward. How have you been able to kind of maybe change your business models or adapt to this new normal, that favorite phrase that everyone uses all the time? Let's start with Mylene.
Yeah, it's becoming to be a cliche, right?
Yeah.
The new normal, right? But prior to COVID-19, because we're a medical equipment provider, so we did most of our fittings and evaluations face-to-face. So our orthotic fitters, our respiratory therapists, they traveled a lot. So during the lockdown, we actually introduced virtual fittings. So with virtual fittings, we were emailing our patients the link to a video tutorial on how to put on a mask, how to put on a knee brace, a back brace. And so that actually reduced our travel expenses. And we're still actually doing that, even, with all of the restrictions lifted, we're still doing virtual fittings. And a lot of our patients actually prefer that. And because, they don't have to travel, don't need to find parking, and it's just less of a hassle for them. So that's one thing actually that really helped us, because we were able to reduce our travel expenses and I think as much as 80%.
Wow.
Because they were, our employees were traveling weekly to the neighbor islands. So with the virtual fittings, we were able to reduce our travel expenses. And as far as laying off people, no, because the stipulation of the PPP loan is we have to have certain number of employees employed. So
you kept everyone.
Yes, we were able to retain all 15 employees, and we're actually fortunate that we just recently hired one full-time employee and one part-timer. So the PPP loan definitely helped us. It's really a great product. And I encourage all the small business owners, especially those who have not availed of the loan, because they're scared, because they think that they're not going to be able to pay it back. And, there's a lot of issues that they're not aware of. And I encourage them to reach out to SBA, to their local chamber of commerce, to their bankers, to if they're have a partner with a PEO, because those are great resources for all of the EIDL, PPP, and CARES Act loan. And a lot of them also don't know much about the difference between a grant and a loan. So I really do encourage our small business owners out there to reach out to their local chamber and SBA.
Yeah, you mentioned, I forgot that you were also an essential business. So you were operating, like you said, didn't have to close. Did you actually, I know you said sales have been affected. Are you seeing at least that neutralize or at least stabilize now? We're still way below.
No, we're not quite where we need to be, but we're seeing, it's creeping up. It's the numbers that we want to see aren't there, but it's slowly creeping up.
Okay. Well, let's turn now to Kit over in Maui with, I know you're actually non-essential because it's an entertainment type of company. So what's going on with you? How are you adapting?
Sure. So the struggle is quite different from non-essential. So basically we were closed the last 3 months, no revenue at all. maybe a little bit of gift card purchases here and there, but it's really like zero. And the timing is quite crucial for us because it's only now that we've opened and we want to see how it is in the new normal, if people are going to come back and willing to play. We've had to revise and pivot and adjust our operations. I know some of my counterparts have offered online escape rooms where there's an actual person in the room and you're dictating instructions and all that. I haven't really
Oh, that's
jumped
so
on that
weird.
idea yet. I know it's so weird because it started from computer games, turned into live physical games, and now we're back into computer. But anyway, so others have offered like a subscription package, like Hawaii Escape Room. I want to give a shout out to them. So Society of Curiosities, you subscribe online and they send you clues to your home where you can play. So it's like a regular thing.
But your groups
Other
are
than that,
small, right? When people go to play there, it's less than 10, right? It's a
Right.
small, but
Ours
it's
is
an
a
enclosed
minimum of
space.
2, yeah, and a maximum of 6. So it depends
Okay.
on the game itself. So they're for little groups, really, for a little fun activity for you and your team. But other than that, we are developing, new products, perhaps a third room. But really, it's in the next few weeks, maybe end of July, where we're really going to make tough decisions. So we'll see if we'll make it, if we'll even break even. So a lot of uncertainty still in the air. We want to keep it. It's my dream. It's my husband and I built it. So it's really, I know a lot of businesses are in the same boat where you want to hold on, but really, is it going to be reasonable? Is it going to be a money pit?
Were you reliant
but
on tourists?
our
Or is it
business
locals?
is half, so we get a lot of Kamaaina, but a lot of tourists as well. So yeah, so now that there's absolutely nobody on Maui, 30,000 visitors a day down to like now it's only, I don't know, less than 100 maybe. So it's really, the impact is tremendous. At the same time, as an entrepreneur, like for my colleagues here, we look at it as an opportunity, right, to reinvent and reimagine what the business can be in this new world, because this is the situation we're in right now. So we're trying to find ways to still offer the same products, the same services that we want to, or totally reinvent and reimagine how the business is going to be like. So I think that's a challenge mostly imposed on business owners right now.
It really
And I think
forces
we
you
can
guys
do
to
it.
think differently, right? Think outside the box.
Absolutely.
Well, okay.
Absolutely.
And of course, Marinelle also in a similar situation, family business. So you guys are running it yourselves, and how has that actually affected how you're adapting to the new normal?
Sort of the same story. We were closed for 2 months as soon as the lockdown was available, and of course, Kauai was one of the first to do the island-wide curfew. So that also kind of changed everything. So anyway, in March, that's when we pretty much, like mid-March, that's when we closed the shop. Everyone had to stay home. No one was laid off. Everybody was still on payroll, and we still had to pay for their insurances, and so many insurances when you own your own business, of course. But while we had the extra funds in March, we had to offer a little bit of an advance pay to the employees because, as everyone knows, unemployment claims were just not kicking in. And so we were able to give them an advance pay. However, it took long before we could reopen. During those times that we were supposed to be closed, I actually called our mayor and asked, because we were not really an essential business, but the type of service that we provide is for the essential businesses, like the banks were still open and we have forms that we could print for them. We were also called by some restaurant who were offering curbside pickup, and so we could make signs. And then we also have the rental companies they're closing their doors, so they could use a sign that says close, or they're parking, moving their cars, all the rental cars somewhere else. So I had to find a creative way somehow to be able to come to work at night perhaps, and hoping that I would find an email for something to come through, because we had nothing was coming in for the 2 months. And so there was one point where the Koloa rum company, they are, they're making rums, but they shifted their gears and they started to create sanitizers, and they were donating that to all the first responders and hospitals and so forth. So we actually came on and we had all of these materials on hand, and so we created labels, donated the design and the labels that I would like to show.
Yeah, show us.
And
Okay, we see
these
it.
are- yeah,
Oh.
with this background. Yeah, so they come in 2 different sizes. But these sanitizers were distributed. There were more than 10,000 that Koloa company delivered and donated everywhere. And so we were, the face on the labels here. So those were the things that we also were able to give back while we were feeling the pain of not making anything. So when we slowly reopened a couple weeks ago, I was able to bring back some of the staff, sharing the hours that we could share between part-time and full-timers. But we're still very slow. We don't have enough that's coming in. There's not enough customers coming in to be able to help.
At what
We also
capacity are you
modified
at?
Well, we modified our hours of operation, so we're only doing open from 9 to 4, and we also changed the fingerprinting appointments where we can only take few people at a time, and then they had to come with fully covered, like their mask. We have to wear gloves, and there's all these kinds of changes that we had to adopt to.
And you mentioned briefly the PPP was helpful, you said, right? With getting your
yes.
workers paid at least and keeping them on.
Yes, it was helpful. It was helpful, but it's definitely not enough to sustain a business, especially, at first, because we were in this understanding that we couldn't really use it for our our lease, our rents, and or utilities. And at that time, that even until now, that's like one of the highest overheads that a business can have is your monthly lease for your business.
Well,
But it did help with the PPP, and I encourage everyone, all the small business out there, to find out some details and information on where you can get help from your local government to your Kauai, your Chamber of Commerce, because our Kauai Chamber here is very active as far as helping, and I belong to that nonprofit group. To that to the board as well. And there's so many resources out there, but the only thing is you have to be on top of it. You need to prepare yourself before you take that application, and be careful with filling it out, because I made that kind of mistake when I was very excited to fill one out. I did it, turned it in, and I may not have filled out the correct information for some of them, and so there was a delay in the process. But I
Yeah.
got
Good advice. You definitely need to be prepared going in. I
Yes.
just wanted to go back to Kit because you did. We didn't really talk about PPP for you. How has it been helpful for
Sure.
you?
Some general comments I have is the experience was easy. When the first round of applications went on, I applied through my bank. And so certain requirements were requested, etc. Before I was able to submit the final requirement, here comes the news on social media, PPP money ran out. So
Yeah.
and this was during like the Netflix baking hair color phase of the pandemic, where you're waking up really crazy and depressed and all that. So it was really frustrating, and you read news about larger companies acquiring millions in dollars from this loan that's supposedly intended for small businesses. You ask questions like, so who's looking out for us as small businesses? So that was frustrating part of it, the first round. And then they added more monies. First of all, the first round, it's for 500 employees or less, right? Like if you have 500 employees, that's not a small business, right? You have to be like a larger corporation for that. So anyway, so second round, they added more monies in, and we were able to get on. It wasn't a lot, but it was still helpful. So I would encourage small businesses, same as Mylene's comments earlier, they just go and apply. Even the EDIL that's currently accepting applications right now, so take advantage of it. Whatever monies that you can put in and help stay afloat, head above water at this time, it's definitely going to help.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the kind of emotional and stressful part of this all. You guys all have your own businesses, and with all of this happening, how do you stay positive? I talked to so many business owners where they're just crying because they just can't make it work. No matter how much they juggle the numbers, try to, their workers, they have to lay off their workers. It's just really devastating for a lot of people. So how have you been able to kind of stay positive and, really just try to get through with uncertainty, with everything happening? We can start with Mylene first.
Well, for us, definitely it's our customers, our patients, our veterans, because we're a medical equipment provider, and so we go to work. Our motivation is to get those patients their medical devices, supplies in a timely fashion, because it's, we're not like a toy store that, you can wait to get your Lego, or we're not a cosmetic store.
It's life or death for you.
Yeah. So our clients are experiencing medical crisis. So that motivates us, with all of the craziness of the pandemic, it keeps us going, knowing the fact that, even during the lockdown, we're still able to service our patients and veterans with their medical equipment and supplies. And so for us, it was our number one motivator. It keeps us going, even during the lockdown and the pandemic and all the craziness of it all. It's the population that we serve.
They rely on you so much, right? So what about you, Marinelle? What keeps you going? When you feel like, oh gosh, what's happening here? What keeps you going?
Wow, you have some intense questions here. This is like supposed to be a
I want you to cry. You're supposed to cry. No, I'm just kidding. No. But seriously, though, it's really difficult. But I like that you guys are positive.
Yeah, well, it's a mixed emotion, but you can never deny the fact that we are facing this type of situation at the moment. But what, we have the full family support, and 50% of my employees are members, cousins, sister-in-laws, and blah blah blah. So, and then we have the non-blood related employees who now we adopted, and I'm just very grateful because we have like full support from everyone, including the business community. I'm involved with several nonprofit organizations. I serve on the board, and I think I belong to a very intact relationship with everyone here. It's like I know almost everyone on the island in that sense, so that when I need to reach out at some point, I even said that if I may close my business in 3 months and I need my own my own new job, please hire me, because I think I can qualify. So I'm just trying to find positive into all the negatives and make all this impossible be possible.
Okay, and what about you, Kit? Just like
Sure.
positivity.
Yeah,
there.
I'm generally a happy person. I'm very positive.
I can
I'm a
tell.
very positive thinker. But I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's really kind of depressing, the situation. We have businesses that just slowly fade away. Some announce it, sorry, we're no longer gonna be open, and that's the reality that we're at. Maybe some comments I can give in closing, I know we're running out of time, is it's really collaboration among our authorities. It's leadership. That's what we need right now. The sooner we can contain this pandemic, and the sooner we can get our thing together for the state, the sooner businesses can start to thrive again, and people can start to support and have income and have monies to spend to support small businesses. So it's really urging our authorities, our officials, our government, our leaders to keep working and keep, getting at it and find ways to contain this thing.
I'm glad you mentioned that because that's a perfect segue to our final topic, which is what do we want our leaders to do for our small businesses to help people like you really get through and survive. Let's bring back Fermo and Rocky, who have been waiting patiently. And we can talk about the future because part 2 of actually this Tsismisan Census Talk story is talking to the policymakers, the people who have the ability to make change, to decide where this CARES money can go, how it can be better allocated to help our economy, which is just devastated because of the lack of tourism and because of the COVID-19. So let's bring back Rocky and Fermo. I see them there. So let's start with you guys. Give us a sense, Fermo, what are we looking at for immediate economic recovery? Are we at a good place? Are we behind? Just hearing all the devastation, it doesn't seem like we're quite there.
Well, Annalisa, this is a wake-up call. The COVID-19 pandemic is a wake-up call, not only for decision makers, but for all of those involved in business and all of us who are affected. In line with what is going to happen in the future, Mayor Kirk Caldwell has already taken steps, and he has reorganized the Office of Economic Development, of which I am part of, to become a bigger office. It will become actually a full department. It will be called the Department of Economic Revitalization, and it will start on July 1st. And the idea here is twofold. Number one, to prepare for something like the current pandemic that we are experiencing. And number two, to work very intently on diversifying the economy of Hawaii, diversifying it to something more than tourism and military. Right now, because of our main goal and purpose of existence for the economy is tourism, we have to diversify and make it more resilient. We have other areas like technology, medical care, hospital care, and education, and we can make our economy more resilient if something like another COVID-19 happens. So Mayor Kirk Caldwell announced that he is infusing $19 million to start a bigger department. It's called the Department of Economic Revitalization, of which I will be in the forefront of that.
A lot of people will be looking forward to seeing some action plan from that. So thanks for that announcement, Fermo. Let's turn to Rocky. What's your sense of how the economy is doing? What will be ahead for us, you think?
It's still can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. It's still moving a little slower than we had expected, but as the state continues to open up, I really feel that businesses will really need to be really creative in how they operate. And I think Marinelle mentioned things that they are doing, finding ways to do business to keep afloat, while at the same time adhering to the CDC guidelines to keep everyone safe. It's just taking a little bit longer because of the heavy sanitization that people are embarked on in between their customers. But one way until tourism can restart, which is a real big part of our economy, and we know what happens when that starts, comes the risk of more infection, is we really need to count on the community to support the businesses, all the local businesses. That's the only way they can stay afloat and try to pull through this pandemic.
Yeah, I think the problem also is kind of the cost of doing business here, right? It's a lot
Exactly.
higher than on the mainland. So a lot of the business owners have, can't compete with mainland-based companies.
Exactly.
Is there something that we can ask our lawmakers to do to kind of subsidize some of the work that our local businesses are doing, helping them get an edge on some of the mainland companies that they're in competition with?
I think it's a little hard for us because of the distance and because of the cost of doing business in Hawaii. Things are shipped here, cost more. So there really is not much that we can rely or ask of the government other than what we have already. But just everyone pulling together and try to support from their own means to help.
Well, thanks, Rocky, for that. Firmo, I just wanted to follow up after talking to Rocky about, what is the city and county of Honolulu doing to ensure that there's some help for them, money-wise, funding-wise, going forward? What can we ask from our lawmakers? I know there's CARES money coming into all the different counties. Is there a way to find out how exactly it's going to be allocated at this point?
Well, right now, there are lots of speculation on how much the county of Honolulu, county of Kauai, county of the Big Island will receive from the state share of the CARES Act. Unfortunately, we don't have that until the governor announces the definitive purpose of the funds and what they can be used for and how they will be allocated. So we have to wait for that announcement.
Is that process going as fast as you would like it to have? I know.
I think they are, because I am in contact with my counterparts in the state, the Department of Business Economic Development, and they assured me that there are lots of inputs that are being considered on how this thing can really help not only small businesses, but also the big businesses and individuals and families.
Okay.
So we hope for the future announcement of the governor on that.
And our business owners as well. I wanted to leave our three ladies, our business women, the last word in terms of what you want to ask from our lawmakers, what you need to do your work, stay in business, stay afloat. Let's start with Mylene.
My wish list. Well, I'd like more forgivable loans, but on a federal level, I think SBA needs to reclassify the 500 or less employees, because really, if a business has 500 employees, is it really a small business? I mean, we saw it with the initial round of the PPP loan. Those huge corporations gobbled up the bulk of that loan. I mean, small businesses were still trying to figure out what is this about. Next thing they know, it's gone. It's been depleted. So I think we need to petition SBA to reclassify their 500 or less employees as, for small businesses. Because really, small business owners, mom and pops, we cannot compete with the resources that huge corporations have, when it comes to availing of the PPP loan, the CARES Act loan. They have lawyers, accountants, and the whole entourage, right, to help them secure the loan. A lot of the small businesses don't have that. So that would be my wish list.
All right. Good wish list there. What about Marinelle?
I do have a wish, several of them. I own a print shop, so I wish I could just print money. I need it. I need some for tomorrow,
I don't know if
right?
that's legal. I can't condone that.
Hey, that's a wish list.
Yeah, seriously speaking, and I would like to echo what Mylene just said as well, for more forgivable loans. But I would love to actually see more testing kits be available, especially for us in Hawaii, because we can't be too complacent, not knowing what the real situation is. There's waiting period that we have to do in order to find out where we're really at. And so, the last thing is the business interruption insurance. I'm sure many business owners can relate to this, because after the SARS outbreak in 2002 to 2003, many insurance companies included an exclusion for this virus and pandemic. So that was not included in the business interruption. So at that point, most carriers are not offering this business interruption, and due to COVID, but 94% actually shows that businesses are carrying the business interruption insurance were actually denied, and I'm one of those. Those claims were denied. So if I had the power to encourage the licensed insurers in Hawaii to at least offer some form of relief for their clients, because we pay this every year. I mean, I've been in business for so long. I've been paying a business interruption insurance just to find out that this type of virus and stuff are not included. So, I don't know how that would be possible, but without the support, their support and financial assistance, many clients may close permanently during an ongoing crisis. And this is not only for the best interest of our community to keep these businesses afloat, but it makes an economic sense for insurers as well.
Mm-hmm. Good point. I've heard a lot of people talk about that as well. Let's talk to now Kit.
Yeah, I'm just gonna echo what my colleagues have said. With any business, your performance measure is cash flow, how much money you have. So you can innovate as much as you can, but if you don't have customers, purchasing things from your business or soliciting your products, it's no use. For a business owner, I think, at least for us, rent is the highest expense. So some sort of rent relief or support in that area would be very beneficial for business owners. At the same time, if we are talking about wish lists and we're talking to our authorities, right? I'm just going to echo again that it's really it's leadership that we need right now. Business owners, we are part of a larger ecosystem in the community, right? People are not going to go to an escape room if they don't have food, if they don't have the necessities to survive. It's a pandemic right now. So if our authorities are listening, I know they are working really hard, but now is not really the time for politics or who does it better or whatever. It's really a collaborative effort with state and county government and the community on how to contain the pandemic. So that's the enemy that we have right now, and that's the whole reason why we're having this Tsismisan talk. And for small businesses, we recognize that we're part of this larger role in the community. So it's political will to make things happen, whether it's new policies for onboarding tourists coming to the island, whether it's mass testing, whether it's more relief effort programs, anything that can help different sectors of the community is ultimately going to help small businesses as well.
And on that note, that's a very good positive note, Kit, to end on. It's just really about looking forward to recovery and building confidence and hope in our economy again, right? Despite all of the concern that we have of our public safety. And guys, that went by fast. We even went a little bit over, so my bad. I wanted to talk a little bit longer because it's Tsismisan. But I did want to thank again the radio partners. They had to jump off, but we were simulcast on Oahu on KNDI 1270, on Maui Mix 105.5 FM, and on Kauai 107.9 FM, KTOH HD3. Thank you so much for being able to share most of our discussion today to your viewers or your listeners, actually. And again, thank you to all my panelists, FYLPRO Daya with the city, Kit Furukawa, over in Maui.
Kapit lang, guys. Kapit lang.
Marinelle Valenzuela on Kauai, Mylene Reyes, with her dollar bill, $100 bills. Mylene Reyes, thank you. And last but not least, Rocky Angwai. And Annie, we have to bring her back into the fold if she's still around. Annie Sokol is our Census Bureau specialist who is always encouraging us to participate and make ourselves counted. There she is.
in a minute.
Salamat.
Salamat.
Yeah.
Meet you all.
And a shout out again to our partners, Filipino Complete Count Committee, FYLPRO, Ethnic Education Hawaii, all the people behind the scenes, Sergio Alcubilla and Char McGinnis of FYLPRO. And she does, you don't see her face, but Banette Misa Lucha is the mastermind behind all of this. Thank you so much to Banette for organizing all of these Tsismisan Talk stories. We have one every 2 weeks, 2 times a month. The next one is going to be the policy leaders. So politics, taking all of the discussion that we had today from our small business owners and bringing it to them and saying, hey, what is being done for us? So, all right. Thank you so much, everybody. Mahalo and stay safe.
Aloha.
Happy
Stay
Father's
safe.
Day.
Yes, happy
Thank
Father's
you.
Day.
Happy Father's
Happy
Day.
Father's Day.
Nice to meet
Aloha.
you virtually. Aloha.
If you missed any of this, just look at the website. Oh, it ended.
Off.